Here's Brody Brazil.
You know, across baseball right now, there's a lot of high-spending teams in terms of player payroll and salary, but there's also two that just really sit well above the rest. I'm talking $300+ million range per season. The Dodgers and the Mets are spending on their players like crazy, but they're also spending on fan experience and infrastructure off the playing field. Like the Dodgers, for example, right now, $100 million going into their stadium, brand new clubhouses on both sides of the field. They're digging under the seats. It's incredible what they're doing. I've got some videos of it here on my channel. And now out in Queens, the Mets are looking to take their parking lot, about 50 acres of asphalt, and turn it into this: a development, open space, parks, yes, a hotel, yes, a casino, a food hall, some other infrastructure things, but the Mets are really looking to push this $8 billion project, which they're looking to largely privately fund. I don't know that there's too much public funding even talked about with this project. They want to take care of this. They want to do this. It does need some approvals, which we'll get into, but the Mets are looking to spend big around their stadium. And those are nice images, right? But now here at the start of the baseball season, and this has been talked about for some time, now they're showing us a physical representation, a scale model of what this might look like. And it's kind of tangible now to see all of the different buildings and how it would lay. Right next to there's Citi Field, and then across the way where Shea Stadium used to be, a Hard Rock hotel and casino and kind of a resort there. So this has been talked about for months, going back to mid to late 2024, but now here in early 2025 with the baseball season approaching, the Mets and their ownership are saying, all right, let's get the wheels on this moving, and that's obviously understood. Going back to some of the images here, and it's more than just the hotel and casino, which are kind of a sticking point, which we'll get to shortly. 25 acres of public park space, that's beautiful. That's brilliant. That's nice. That's something everybody can enjoy throughout an off-season or during a season. Investing in public infrastructure and transportation. Yeah, there's an MTA stop and a transportation station right at the ballpark site. Currently, they want to make it even better. There's that Taste of Queens food hall, which, by the way, why does a food hall sound extra attractive to me? I'm a big fan of food halls, right? Because there's something for everybody there. Say you're feeling like one item, somebody else is feeling like something else, and a third person wants something totally different. You can all get what you want and then meet at the very middle of the food hall. Anyway, I digress. That's not what this video is about. I do love food halls. And a community-first vision, I know they're talking a lot about jobs and union jobs and well-paying jobs and what the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino would bring in. So we'll get into that deeper in just a second, but there's a lot of different things going on here from those images. Metropolitan Park. Did I mention that before? That's what they want to call this. Obviously the Mets, Metropolitan Park. It makes a lot of sense. And their slogan is, let's turn a parking lot into a park. Well, wait a second. You're turning a parking lot into something. It's 50 total acres, and you are going to spend half of that on a park, which is great. I love that. But it's not all a park, right? Let's not make it sound like this is just some innocent green space. There's a lot of money to be made here. There's some profit to be had with this 50 total acres. It is an estimated $8 billion development, and I do think that number is on the very high side. About $1 million of that goes into fixing up the transportation station, building the food hall, doing some ADA compliance. So some of that, and I think also there's some community benefits built into that $8 billion. So largely it wouldn't cost that much. That's kind of the sell, right, from the team and the ownership of the Mets to say, hey, we're going to put in $8 billion. It might be less than that, but still, you get an idea. This is in the billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar range. The Mets and their owner, Mr. Cohen, they own this land. So there's not much of an ask other than an approval, a zoning approval. Like this site does need zoning approval before the project can begin, but this is totally in ownership and in the Mets' hands. Once that approval is given, there's nothing stopping them from doing this. And in terms of that approval, 4 community boards and the Queens Borough president have been highly in favor of the project. Now, there are some reservations, which we're about to dive into here, but overall, everybody is looking forward to this, and especially because they're not having to pay for this. It would be a community benefit. It would be more of a year-round activation and experience that obviously is not going to take any public funding that we can understand. Some reservations do look like this. Casinos, whenever they go up in a neighborhood, they don't always seem to benefit that neighborhood. Gambling, addiction, I mean addiction to gambling, but obviously all the other things that come with operating a casino in the middle of a neighborhood. People that live around the area are just not so certain about the activities and the atmosphere that a casino would overall bring. Certainly, it does provide revenue and profit for the company operating it, Hard Rock, but what does it mean immediately to that area? Certainly some jobs, but also some drawbacks that potentially could come with it. Interesting, too, about this site, and I showed you the map to begin. I didn't go into detail of what everything is and where it is, but for all the different ballpark villages that have been proposed by major league teams over the years, the ones that have been built in recent times, the ones that are desired to be built in upcoming years, this one doesn't include any housing. Like, people will ask in the community, hey, how about build some housing and some affordable housing like you'd legally be obligated to do? There's no housing as part of this project. And maybe that's because it makes it easier. If you don't touch the housing piece of this, you don't have to get into a battle back and forth of how much affordable housing and what is affordable housing and how do we do this, because that gets you into the weeds and some sticky spaces. Here, there's no housing. There's a park, there's a food hall, the transportation station gets a little bit bigger, there's a hotel, casino, and that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, there has to be parking too, by the way. That is another reservation and concern of those who live around this area. Traffic, congestion, and parking in the area. Now, the stadium has always been there, and a lot of people have always come to this stadium and left this stadium in mass amounts. But what if you take away the parking lot? And what if all of a sudden there's parking garages, but those don't have the same in and out access? And now there's more people coming in on a year-round basis. It's not just the summertime because there's a hotel and casino and there's an event space. And you understand what I'm saying. You're inviting a lot more people to the party, and the physical boundaries of this space are not getting any bigger. And yeah, you'd be taking away a lot of parking spots. So there are some legitimate and tangible reservations here. You'd like to think that the Mets and their ownership have put a lot of thought, careful thought, into how to mitigate all of that. Here's Steve Cohen, the Mets owner, what he said about Metropolitan Park. Quote, "It's time New York got the sports and entertainment park it deserves. When I bought this team, fans and the community kept saying we needed to do better. Metropolitan Park delivers on the promise of a shared space that people will not only want to come to and enjoy, but can be truly proud of." I mean, look, it's a pretty generous offer. And yes, he does stand to make some profit and some benefit off this. But if it also benefits the public and the community, that's also a great thing too. Here's some of the plan highlights. Now, I have to say, I'm taking these copy and paste styles straight from the Metropolitan Park website. So I'm not necessarily pitching all of this like these are my beliefs, but this is what the project says it's going to be all about. Parks, public, accessible, open green space, athletic fields, playgrounds, and gardens. So that just gives you a sense. When we say 25 acres of parks, it's not just a big patch of grass. There's a lot of cool things that could be used. Jobs, thousands of permanent union jobs, good paying year-round employment, priority hiring for local residents. Okay. That's a good selling point. Transportation, accessible mass transit station that already exists. Obviously, it would get some improved and efficiency in its access, efficient and improved parking. Again, I'm curious to know, how do you do that? There's nothing more efficient than a parking lot in terms of cars and space and getting people in and out of Citi Field. Modernized road and bike network. So they say they'll be taking care of transportation and improving it. I'd love to make sure how that's going to happen. Entertainment for those people who just want something additional to do. A hotel with a restaurant and bars and a casino and gaming and sportsbook. All those things that you would expect that come with a Hard Rock hotel and casino. And then the Queen's Food Hall, which again, I'm most excited about this. Maybe just because I'm an old guy now. I love the idea of a food hall. By the way, there's one in Seattle that I can't get off my mind. It's right at Seattle Center, right in the shadow of the Space Needle, and I forget, the Armory. I think that's what the building is called. What a great food hall. So many different options. My son wanted one thing. I wanted something else. We both got what we wanted, and then we got ice cream after. Okay, I love food halls. Affordable and authentic dining options. It's basically like having a bunch of food trucks there, except they're permanent. Okay, sorry, done with that. Dining options, cuisine featuring local vendors, and a community event space. I think, honestly, you could just do a food hall, make everybody happy. But I understand why the Mets want to do All these different things as part of the development. So let me get to my takeaways here, beginning with this. It's so predictable here in 2025. Every Major League Baseball team wants a ballpark village. And don't be surprised, by the way, if the Dodgers do something similar to this with their parking lot. Now, that would be a disaster because their stadium is already on top of a hill and their parking lot's not great, and people and traffic in and out of that place is a dumpster fire every single regular game, let alone when it's packed. But the Dodgers might eventually do something like this because they've got the space. But every team that has space around their stadium or is considering a new stadium, they want to do this. It's no surprise the Mets have their eye on this. And you know what? The Mets are lucky that their current stadium site is on an old ballpark site. Like, they literally built Citi Field just east of where Shea Stadium used to be. And when Shea Stadium was built so many decades ago, they surrounded it like they used to do back in the 50s and 60s with a huge parking lot, because that's just what they did back in the day. They had the land. Parking was valuable to them. And so now they've got all this land and it's a new stadium with that space. It's kind of the best of both worlds. Primarily private funded here, and some revenue, I guess, coming from the casino to pay for this project. And when I say primarily privately funded, what I guess I'm trying to say is there might be some, I guess, indirect things that cost the public in terms of taxes and this and that. But if it's such a small, negligible amount, it doesn't really even matter. I mean, this entire thing is being privately funded. That's what matters most here, is that the public's going to get something out of this for nothing, something that they can use year-round, something that's going to generate jobs year-round. That's tremendous. I mean, if the Mets were asking here, city or county local government, for money to do this, while the Mets are spending $300+ million on their payroll and Juan Soto, like, that's a really hard ask. So I'll be honest, I'm proud of the Mets that they're saying, hey, we own this, we can do this, we're going to take care of this. All you have to do is say yes for the zoning, and it's as simple as that. And I also really do appreciate the Mets not only paying for it, but it's one thing when you're paying for it and you still do the outreach. You still meet with community members and community groups and say, hey, would you be cool with this? What are some good ideas that we should include with this? They're getting that feedback, that perspective from the people and the stakeholders that matter most. So I really do admire the Mets for going about this. I mean, you understand, it's their money. They could just do whatever they want. And they still, to some degree, might go in the directions that they see best fit. But the point is, they're actually taking the time to connect with the community, let them know what's going on here, and ask for some feedback along the way. And yeah, I said $8 billion before. Again, $1 billion, from what I understand, is going to the park, ADA improvements, so with Americans with Disability Act improvements, subway improvements, the food hall. So a lot of this $8 billion, I mean, a certain portion of this $8 billion, not just going to the hotel and the casino, which is going to make money, kind of gives you a scope of what they're spending and how they're spending it. So look, overall, normally I make videos here and I'm a little bit critical of teams asking for things or threatening to leave because of things. If they don't get what they want, they're out of here. That's not what the Mets are doing at all. They're saying, hey, we like this. We'll take care of this. We'll pay for this. Let us know what you think about this. If you approve this, here's what we're going to do. So there's really not much more to be said than, hey, great on the Mets for thinking of this, and hopefully they can execute it. If everybody likes it in the Queens neighborhood and borough and area, then great. It's great for the community, great for fans, and I hope it happens. Thanks for making it to the end of this video. Really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me, this video, and this channel. And one more thing, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.